Okay, part three of the animation basics lesson. Let's put it all kind of back to the way it was. This one right here, let me click on object, set origin, and then origin to geometry. So it centers itself, okay? And then I'm gonna press forward slash to return all the other objects. All right, so there's our original kind of file. If somehow you have gone a little bit more adventurous on this one and changed a bunch of stuff, that's fine. You can reopen the file, low poly cars lesson that we will be providing in the description, and that's when all the cars orientation, it's at the bottom except for the parent car. Okay, all right, so let's do parenting. So parenting is basically chain link connecting the your objects. Okay, so we name this objects here. This is the parent car. That's child 1, child 2, child 3 car, so that we can put them kind of like in a daisy chain. Okay, so what we need to do and learn here is that when you're parenting, the selection kind of matters. Okay, so we want the parent car, of course, obviously, to be the parent. All right, so what I'm going to do is go to the top view first. So I'm going to hit tilde and then go top right here. You can also press numpad 7. It's the same thing. What I'll do is I want to go to my move tool right here and then simply position this one front like so. Okay, so that's what happened. Okay, what I can do now is I want to parent all these 3 cars to the main car, to the parent car. So to do that, I'm in object mode. Remember, in object mode, I'm going to select, shift click each one, so all 3 are selected. Then I'm going to shift click, shift, and then click the parent car last. Okay, remember, it's the last selection. So your last selection will be your parent. So the parent keyboard shortcut is Control P. Okay, and what's happening is that you have this option where it says set parent to object, or object keep transform without inverse kinematic, keep transform. There's too many options, right? We can just simply go to object and keep transform, these 2 for now, because they kind of do the exact same thing when we don't have any armature or bones. Okay, so if I click on object, what's going to happen is that all these 3 now, if I move the parent car, all 3 follows. Okay, so let me click undo before we did all that. So shift click, and then shift click the parent last, Control P, keep transform. As you can see, there is no difference. Okay, however, we do see this perforated line right here indicating that all 3 cars are children of the parent car. Okay, all right, so let me just click undo and redo that process. Okay, select, shift click all the children that you want. Whatever you shift click last will be the parent. So if I do Control P, keyboard shortcut to set the parent, objects what we're using, as you can see, there is no difference between object and keep transform at this point. So for now, use object, it will be fine. Keep transform later on when we want specific things not to jump and snap. Okay, all right, so parent object. So now whenever we select the parent and move it, the children follows. Even orientation with rotation, sorry, and even with scaling. Okay, all right. So however, since each of this child car right here are parented to the main one, they still have their independence. So we can animate this car, and I'm going to set it over there. Okay, Guys, if you don't know how to animate yet, please watch the previous lesson with the UFO. Okay, so right here I'm going to animate along the y-axis, okay, wherever this position is. So I'm just going to keyframe that, insert single keyframe, okay, and then we go, let's say 100 frames. We move the car kind of forward, right click, set single keyframe. So now it's like the parent car is towing all three cars. Since these three are children right here, they still have their independence. So meaning I can position them like so, and it don't matter, they get dragged the same way. So here you can already tell the power of this. So since they're parented, let me just undo the position, they're parented to the main parent car, it's that you can have their different orientation. So in a way, you're getting two pivot points at this point, right? So if we were to animate this car to rotate, okay? So on frame 1, we do 0 z-axis rotation, okay? So I'm just going to right-click that, insert single keyframe, and then around frame 50, we started kind of rotating that. Okay, let's put 20 degrees. Insert single keyframe. So what's going to happen is that the entire thing would start kind of rotating this way, and then it will just kind of, let's see right there, put it back to 0, insert single keyframe. So it kind of did a little skid, okay, corrected itself. So now while we're doing that, if we don't have all this child 001s, you can see, by the way, in the outline they're truncated, okay, meaning that's how you know visually in the outliner they're under the parent car, because they're tab right here. Now is that we can the parent car is basically just stuck with one pivot point because it doesn't have a parent, okay, and then the other three cars, they still have their independence. So right here we can animate the cars independent, the children right here. So on frame 1, let's say we want this car to start kind of moving along the x-axis, right? So I'm gonna single keyframe on the x, and then let's go, let's say 50 frames, okay. So you can see right here it can go this way, but that's kind of going sideways. So this is where we start working on our local axis. So I'm going to go local right here, okay, kind of like what we learned from the previous lesson, okay. So you can see right there it follows the orientation of the object, because this is what it looks like on top, okay. So on global, if I animate it on global, okay, then it will actually go this way. It will kind of slide that way and not separate itself with the orientation of the rotation. So frame 50, okay, so that went like so. It went this way. All right, I'm going to switch to local, and then on x-axis 50, we're going to go maybe right there. Just kind of move it away. I'm going to go insert single keyframe when we scrub this. Okay. All right, so same thing here. We want this car to kind of move back, kind of get left behind. So on frame 1, we're going to do the y-axis. So y-axis, right-click, insert single keyframe. And then let's say around frame 60, it gets pulled back a little bit. Insert single keyframe while in local. All right, and then let's say for the red one, we're just going to do a simple rotation animation. So we want it on the z-axis because that's where we see the spinning. Insert single keyframe on 1, and then while it's doing this around frame 60, we want to kind of rotate it going that way, and then once we reach, let's say 100, or 120, wherever we ended that animation. Let's put it back to, let's say, 0. Insert single keyframe, so it does that. So let's go back to kind of like a 3D view, and let's kind of see what's happening when we scrub this. Kind of they're doing their own thing. Okay. Okay, so that's not 120 actually. It's on 100. I don't know why I put it on 120, but anyway. All right, so that's what we can do with parenting. Okay, so we can assign all this and then make it kind of jump to that location. All right, so let's do another way to kind of parent this. I'm going to open that, don't save it. Okay, so let's go right here. What we can do is put them in order from the top. So I'm going to go to the top, numpad 7 or tilde. Go to the, sorry, top. Let's just kind of position them in a way where this one is first. This one right here. All right, not necessarily lined up, but just want you to kind of understand that we're going to kind of daisy chain their parenting. Okay, so I'm going to select the last car, child 3, and then shift click child 2. Control P, set parent to object. So now this car has its independence, but if I move the parent, it will follow along. Then I will select just this car, child 2, shift click child 1, control P object, and the same thing kind of happened. When I move this one, the other two follows, but they still have their own independence up to the point of the chain. Okay, because if I click undo here, when I move this one, everything follows. When I move this, it has its independence from this one. However, since the red car does not have a child, it's its own thing. You know, it follows the blue, and then of course it has its own independence. Okay, and lastly, I'm going to select the first child right here. Shift click the parent car, control P, and then object. You already know the drill. If I select the parent car, everything follows. Okay, but each car that is linked below it would have its own children. It has its independence. Okay, the car has its independence right there from the parent car, but its children are following it. So its main child is the blue one. It follows it. Then this one right here has its independence. So now we can kind of animate them kind of doing their own thing. Okay, so let's do I'm going to change that to 100. And I'm on layout, by the way. Okay, you can also do it in the animation tab. It doesn't matter. Layout just gives me the bigger screen to show you. Okay, so let's animate this one, kind of just moving left and right. Okay, so let's go to our item. So that's the x-axis. All right, so also if you want to reset all this information right here for each car, you can go apply all transform. Okay, it will reset its number. However, its pivot point is going to go back to the original, so you don't want that only on when we're modeling. So what you want here is to apply and set the delta. It will reset the numbers to 0, but it keeps where the pivot point is. Okay, so this one right here will do the same. Object apply delta, all transform delta. So they'll have its new values reset to 0. All right, makes it easier for, let me click undo. I messed up that one. I'm supposed to go all delta. There you go. All right, let me check. All right, so now it's still parented. Okay, so now we're going to animate this one kind of moving left and right. Okay, so we're going to start with 0 right here on frame, let me go frame 1. X axis. Okay, then on frame, let's say 30, it goes this way. Insert single keyframe. frame 70, it goes this way. And then finally in frame 100 it goes back to 0. So if you play that animation, it's kind of following along. Okay. Okay, so now since the children right here, they have their independence, we're going to animate this one go the opposite way. Okay, so that would be x-axis also. So if I go here on X, insert single keyframe, and I move it that way a bit. Okay. Oh, sorry. Let's go frame 30. Move it there a little bit. Then insert that single keyframe so you can see. Goes this way, it goes further away. And then let's go to frame 65. It goes much over here. And then of course on frame 100 it goes back to where it was when we play this. All right. Okay, so now on this one let's add some rotation also. So on the first one, there's no rotation along the z-axis. Then when we go to frame 30, we give it some value. It goes that way. And then on frame 65, it goes that way. Then on 100, it goes back to 0. And we're going to keyframe that. Okay. All right. Then, of course, it's quite obvious what you can do with this since it has its own independence, but it's being followed by that car. All right. So you can animate this however you want. Okay. Let me go back to the original lesson. And then let's put them in order to drive the point a little bit more obvious here. Kind of just lining them up. Okay, so if we want the two to be the children of this car, Control P, then Object. This car, shift click the main parent, always shift click the parent last, Control P, Object. So you can see here, once we animate this, this one will follow, but both of those cars, let me put ground here, unselectable. So when you go like so, both of those are independent. So if you want to move this without moving the red car, then do what we did with this parenting, right? So both of these were selected and then they became children of this car, so that the previous parenting was they go one at a time. So you always have, you don't, this the last one doesn't have any independence whatever you move the blue one, right? So that all's kind of come into play when it comes to parenting. You can kind of tell here, if we modeled this one with a separate tire and you want those tires to kind of rotate, you would want to parent all those tires going into the to the body, and then you can have independence on those. Okay, so now this setup right here is what we have. Okay, so let's just kind of simply animate this going kind of back forward, right, like before, and they all follow. The thing here though is that what if I want to rotate the car kind of rotating? Okay, so if I go to the front here, numpad 1 or tilde front, okay, and I can do my item right here, and I can do rotation along the Y, and I can kind of do that. The other ones are children, so they can rotate in their own kind of position, right? But let's say we want to do another rotation on this car along the y-axis. So first we want it to rotate this way in the center, and then we want to rotate it on this wheel. Okay, so what we can do here is use a helper or an empty. Okay, so I'm going to go to number 7 here, numpad 1 or top. I'm going to go to add, and then you'll see this object called empty, and we're just going to use a circle. Okay, so there's a circle and it's positioned along where the cursor is. All right, so you can just position that anywhere you want. So I'm just going to grab it and put it here close to the wheel, at the bottom of the wheel actually, of the left one right there. Okay, so now there's two things we can do with this, is that we can animate the empty now as our main parent to this. So let's parent the green car, the parent car. Let me go to solid here so you could see the helper. So I'm going to select the main parent and then shift click the curve right here. Okay, Control P, object. So what's going to happen now is that when whenever I drag the helper, okay, everything follows now. So why use helpers and whatnot? Again, when you want, to increase your pivot point, and helpers, they don't render. When I click render on this, you will not see that circle appear in your photo. Okay, but the power of this one now is that we can do, we can change the pivot point of the entire chain really quick without going through the process of changing the pivot point here by snapping to selection. So now I can animate this car. So let's say we move back it a bit, and I'm using the empty now. I'm grabbing the empty. Y-axis, I'm gonna insert single keyframe on 0. Should have been 1, but anyway, will be the same thing. So I'm gonna go here, 100 frames. Let's go here 100 and then 0 on that one so that it represents everything we see right here. Okay, so 100 right there. I'm going to move it like so. Insert single keyframe. All right, and then let's say around 50 frames. I'm going to start rotating the y-axis of that helper, which is, we look at it from tilde right here, front, 50, then we go 100. We tilt it that way. Okay, so insert single keyframe. So you can see right here, it's no longer rotating at its own pivot point. They all kind of go like so. Okay, and then what can we do with the other ones? Well, they have their own independence here. So while that's happening, we can also go and do orientation on this one. Since it's the main parent, we can go like so, and then tilt them over that way. Okay, so let's do that. So let's do where it goes this way, 50 to 100. Okay, we can make this one along the y-axis rotate the other way. Okay, so let's start with 50, no rotation, go to 100. Okay, let's see that in the front. All right, right there. So now we have independent animation, simply because we can parent that. All right.